Hey, welcome everyone. We're on a couple minutes early. There is a chat box there, and I appreciate you being on time. You know, I love people on time. So in the chat box, if you've hired someone, tell me what you think is the biggest mistake you made. If you've hired someone, tell me the mistake you've made. Put it in the chat box. Just curious. What mistake have you made? What do you think the mistake was? Oh, not asking the right questions. Well, I'm going to help you with that today. Hiring too fast. Yeah, we all pull the trigger there. We all want that easy button, easy button. Hiring out of desperation. Been there, done that. Okay. Not taking the time. Oh, I know you're going to love this call today because it's a daunting one. Hired daughter's friend. Oof. No friend, no family. If you got a spouse that wants to come in the business, you're going to have to go to a marriage counselor, draw the lines. And then I usually say, pay the spouse to stay away. It's cheaper than a divorce. It's tough. Been there, done that too. Hiring someone who had different goals. Yeah, that's okay. Good. I love these answers. These are amazing. Wanting to help them fit when they did it. Yep, done that too. Done that too. All right, bottom of the hour. Thank you, you early birds. We're going to get started because I appreciate people on time. I'm Monica Reynolds. I'm going to turn this over for a few seconds to Carlos with the MAPS team. He is amazing, amazing executive assistant. So Carlos, tell us the rules here real quick.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, 5 Ways to Hire Proof Your Business with the Right Hires, hosted by MAPS Executive Coach Monica Reynolds. Before I kick it over to her, I have 3 quick announcements. Please note this meeting is being recorded. I will share the link in the chat momentarily to the MAPS YouTube channel, where the recording will be available within 24 hours. Currently, everyone is on mute. However, we do value group participation, and if you have questions for Monica, please type them into the chat box. Following the meeting, if you have any questions about today's webinar or other coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's fasttrack@kw.com. That's all for me, Monica. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Carlos. Excellent job. All right. So I'm Monica Reynolds. Let's go to the next slide. This is what we're going to talk about today, the 5 ways to hire proof your business. So Stephanie is on our call, and Stephanie, some of you know, has been my assistant. We can go to the next slide, Steph. That has been my assistant for over 13 years. And go back to that one. Steph, you went too far. So she's been my assistant. Go back to the previous one, Stephanie. Okay, I guess we won't. All right, there it is. Okay, good. And so she's been with me through thick and thin, and I wanted to share with you. Okay, Stephanie's having a little challenge here. Hopefully we'll get this straightened out. Stephanie's been with me for 13 years. Next slide, Stephanie. Okay, and so when I interviewed Stephanie, she was not my first choice. And so I wanted to share with you that when 13 years ago, I was running a 7th level team. The owner of the team made $1 million a year, thanks to me, Stephanie, and 3 other agents and 3 other assistants. And he netted $1 million every year, netted. And so when I took over that team, he wasn't making that kind of money, yet I had superior people. When I was looking for an EA, I interviewed Stephanie, and I wanted to share this story because there was another person I interviewed that had the sizzle, and I got seduced by the sizzle on a few things that she said. Well, after week 1, I went, didn't know she was going to do that. I thought she could do this. I thought she could do that. So I didn't follow the complete process with her. And if you read the MREA book, Tim Woods is in there quite a bit. And Stephanie was Tim Woods' executive assistant in Big Bear. Tim Woods has passed, and he was Mike Ferry's best friend, is super agent in Big Bear, California. So I knew Stephanie had the qualifications, yet I went for the sizzle. Well, that lasted about 3 weeks. I called Stephanie and I said, gosh, I'd still love for you to come and work for us. I'm sorry I called and said that I filled the position. I made a mistake. Stephanie came to work, so it does happen. So I've coached more agents than anyone in the country. I wrote books on assistants in the 90s. Some of my ad and stuff is in the MREA book written in the 2000s, which is fun. And so I want you to hear this loud and clear. I dug the well on this. I don't know why, but I've been passionate about what an assistant can do. Steph, so the next one, please. So it's like building a team though. So your first hire is your most important hire. Now, people are an investment. They're an asset. And so on the next slide, this is my favorite quote from Steve Jobs. It doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they tell us what to do. And I'm happy to have somebody tell me what to do and where to go. And I know what my talents are, and you know what your talents are. So on the next slide, you have to know your why. So when you're hiring a team, you're hiring your first assistant, are you looking for time or money or both? So do you have a job description? Are you clear what you're willing to delegate? What does leverage look like for you? You've got to understand the why. When you hire your first person, you now have turned into a business person. People are an investment and an asset, and they are also so not good for your business when you hire the right one. It takes you out of your business. It's money, it's time, it's frustration. You've got to take the steps. And so when people were getting on, I asked, what are some of the mistakes you made? You got to take the time. And so one of the last slides is the 12-step, 14 steps of things you need to do on this hire. And it does take time. When we're going to be in a marriage with these people, in a partnership, we're going to spend more time with our hires than we do with anyone in our family, probably. And so I'm going to talk about ISAs, buyer agents. So hang on, because it's a fast-paced call. Why do you want a team? What's important about building a team versus a single agent with an assistant? Nothing wrong with either one. You just have to know your why. And you have to know that you are willing to make an investment in people, and you see it as an asset, and you've got to take the time to do it right. So do you have an organizational chart for 2 years from now, 5 years from now? When do you hire a buyer agent, an ISA? Well, if you follow the model, you don't hire a buyer agent until you have 2 assistants in place and you're doing at least 75 transactions. And I know a lot of us like to jump the gun faster because we don't want to put a buyer in there. All right. So what is your budget? 3 months of salary, 6 months of salary? You know, you've got to have a cushion in there. I know that when I became an agent and I was doing about 60 transactions, I blew up my marriage. I had 3 kids. I was a single mom. I went out to lunch with a banker who was after my business, of course. And he said, you need an assistant. I said, I don't need another mouth to feed. And he said something brilliant to me. He goes, try it for 30 days because I know you have the money. Fire it if it doesn't work. I went, okay, I'll do that. Wow. Rest is history. So I had the mentality of, I'm just going to try it for 30 days and then I'll blow her out of the water. It's not going to work, whatever. I'll make him happy. And I thought it was a kind of a good idea, but I didn't know. I did not know, but it changed my life and it changed the client's life. And I went to 120 transactions literally the next year. What systems do you have in place? Do you have a game plan of what's needed? You don't need any systems or game plan. You need to know what you need though. And you find that person and you build together. So a lot of people go, I got to get ready. 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 Well, okay, there's ways to get ready for that too. And that's called the perfect real estate assistant class. Because if you don't have one, you are one, and the systems are there. Will you support and encourage training? So you've got to make the investment. You've got to make the investment in your people. And so when I go to family reunion and I have these breakouts with assistants in the team, organizational team, man, I love that. It's so great because they're there, they're learning, and they're experiencing what you're experiencing. So it's great to lock arms and do those things. Now, the second process is the hiring process. And I'm going to give you a couple of tidbits on this. And then there's a great slide at the end that really wraps it up. You got to have a great ad. So on the next slide, Stephanie, the ad, the resumes, and over the phone interview. And so over the phone interview, there is a couple of conversations you want to have. Tell me about your job history. Describe the perfect job for you. What are you best at? What are your hobbies? What do you feel you need more training on? Now, if you were at family reunion, I was all about Ed Milet. And he said, it's all about happiness. So I said, describe a happy work environment to you. So I added that question. Let's see what they think is a happy work environment. Who wants to go into an environment that's not happy, right? Why not do that? So there's a lot of different things that I can share with you about that phone interview. The critical thing is, once I get the ad out and the resumes come in, I divide them up into three piles. One is what I call Kentucky Fried Chicken. Nothing wrong with that. I put myself through college in that building. Okay. The second one, meaning no experience. Number 2 is admin experience. Number 3 is admin/real estate experience. And then I will call them and I'll say, do you have a couple of minutes? How they answer the phone. And I said, you have a couple of minutes. If not, I can call you back. I want to hear a conversation with someone. I don't want to hear, so tell me about your job history. I've got your resume here. Oh, well, where do I start? Gosh, no, I need someone to think on their feet. Okay, great. 2 years ago, I was at this job, blah, blah, blah. I need someone to think on their feet. KPA, Keller Williams Agents, you have a phenomenal way. There's 37 job matches, TC, executive assistant, listing manager, director of operations. You can categorize all those and see how they rate. You've got to do the KPA. They're available to you. The DISC test course is always my fallback. I need to know where in the kingdom are they? Are they a driver? They're an ISC? Because I don't need another D on the team. I got enough D for everybody. I need a C. I need someone to cross the T's, dot the I's, or like I like to say is dot the T's, cross the I's, because I get it all goofed up. I'm not great at paperwork, not my strength, but I want someone to do it perfectly. I'm sure some of you can agree with that. The office interview, they better show up on time. And yes, they're going to have an office interview. And I so appreciate the virtuals, and sometimes that works in your business, but when your business really goes to the next level, you need that person in the office. I like to turn to someone and say, hey, pull me a pre-list package. Hey, pull this for me. Hey, find out about this for me. So I'm that kind of person. And sometimes the virtual's not able to do that. Second, but they're great. They're great. Hear that loud and clear. There's sometimes I need that person. Second office interview, obviously coming in, going through the life story, test the skills. I put them on, give them a typing test. I give them a spelling test, basically. You've got to test the skills. It's amazing when they say they can do something and they can't. References, you go 3 levels deep if you've taken career visioning. And I usually, once I talk to someone, no friends or family, I go to the second person and I say, first person, I say, so who else that I should talk to? I'd love to talk to just one more person. Talk to the second person. I'd love to talk to just one more person. Who do you know that I should reach out to? Then you really get the story. There's many times on that third interview that the red flags came out. I had to do some more questioning, some more research, and that was not a good fit. I go over the job description, the team members meet them. I go over the schedule. I sign off on the offer letter, which includes the pay, sign off on the schedule, sign off on the 30, 60, 90. Now I have a few more that they need to sign off on. You'll see coming up. So hang on. Next slide is the assistant ad. And I'm going to share the buyer in the ISA ad. So hang on, because I'm giving you the whole picture of the people you would hire. So immediate opening for real estate assistant, organizer, positive person, good communicator, both written and verbal, have excellent computer skills, have a good sense of humor, be a fast learner with a quick mind, and be willing to work hard and smart. You'll work in a fast-paced real estate office. Wrote that in the 80s or 90s. This ad has always worked for me. I cut it down. I simplify it sometimes. This is not an entry-level position. Sometimes they still come no matter what. And I'm not big about giving out my phone number identification at this time. I want them to respond to that. And then once I talk to them, then I'll let them know who I am, of course, and then they can look me up all they want. All right, ISA ad. Let's go to the next slide. So my favorite, now the old days, when dinosaurs were walking around, when I started in real estate 44 years ago, is that I used an ad that says smile dial, make a pile. I was looking for professional telemarketers. And so when you look at this ad, this was an ad that we ran, and Stephanie was on my team. We had at least 3 to 4 ISAs at all time. And the key on the ISAs is that you have to know what your expectations are, and you have to carve off time in your schedule as a rainmaker, or if you have a sales manager on your team that is going to role play with them daily, keep them accountable, highly recommend services like Mojo so you can hear the recorded calls, you can see how many times they talk to a person. It's a lot of accountability, but it works extremely well when you get to that level. Buyer agent. Now, I'm going to show you 411 coming up on a buyer agent and what that should look, or excuse me, the first 30 days on a buyer agent. In this day and age in a market, when you have a sustainable business, like a lot of you do on this call, I highly recommend that you do not bring on the new agents. I would bring on agents 10 to 20 transactions per year because they're floundering and they've got some basics. Now, nothing wrong with bringing on a buyer agent, but bring a new agent, bring on a couple at a time, because you're going to be training, and then you're going to hold up your phone and you're going to record any trainings you do and build a training library. Now, on the next slide, we're going to set expectations. So this is pretty good for everyone, whether it's an employee or it's an independent contractor. So on number 3 would be setting expectations. So job description, perfect schedule, you introduce them to that. And I always give the buyer agent what the perfect schedule is, the ISA. There's no floundering around or they have to make up those things. Introduce to the office, people in the market center, team goals, training schedule and training opportunities, onboard manual given, shadow agent for 1 week. I am a big proponent that if you had your assistant attached at your hip for 1 week, that's amazing that they see the big picture. Now, what agents say to me, oh my gosh, I set so many appointments, and I go, you know why? Because you had someone listening to you that you wanted to keep closing. You wanted to keep them engaged in the conversation. And then when you went on a listing appointment, you were all ready to get that signed. And so when you have a buyer agent, they should go on a whole week, even if it's listing appointments, talking to them, immersing them in the culture of who you are and what you do and why you are who you are. Communication guidelines, whether it's emails, responses to leads, etc. Sign off on TCPA. That's a big one. That sign off on a TCPA. And if you want a copy, you can email me at monica@kw.com. This is not a legal document. So if you don't like it, don't use it. It's not a legal document. However, I do say in this document that if there's any legal lawsuits because you did not adhere to the TCPA, you will be responsible for those attorney fees. So I'm setting it up right up. Now, I'm not going to take the brunt if you're just not going to look at the do not call list. And so I say that right up front. If you want to have one drawn up by an attorney, you should. Okay, database, I go over that and how we use it and why we use it. And then the team member database, I demand and require they bring at least 300 names, address, phone numbers from their sphere of influence. Now, when you ask them how many people in their cell phone, they'll say 700, 800, usually the average. I say, how many on your Facebook? Couple thousand. Okay. Do you have Instagram? Yeah, 2,000 or 3,000. Okay. What about your spouse? What about boyfriend, girlfriend, family members? So they can easily pull together 300 names because this is the beginning of their database. And these people are going to be the people that they call first to say, hey, I'm so excited. I've joined the team of Monica Reynolds, and I'm so excited to share with you that I'm going to help 100 families with the American dream, or whatever the goal happens to be, buying or selling. So slide number 4, please, Stephanie. You must have a job description. It's a roadmap to success. It's clarity of expectations. It's duplicatable, scalable. It's your training checklist. So your job description is your training checklist. If you want that also, you can email me at monica@kw, and Stephanie and I will get that to you. Mine is like 5 pages long. And then in that, it's a train. So you're checking things off if you're teaching your assistant, your buyer agent, your ISA. They all have that. Now, legally, your buyer agent is an independent contractor. You can't say job description legal. You can say success checklist. You can call it anything, but independent contractors don't have job descriptions. And in California, you can get nailed on that. I did. So I'm giving you a little heads up. Now, on the next slide is a very simple complete, and it's not, like I said, my job description for an executive assistant is 5 pages long. These are just some of the activities there. And this is just one sample of one of the pages there. And so there's, like I said, it's 5 pages long. You must have a job description before you hire someone. I would say 60 to 75% of the assistants I interview do not have a job description before they join the job. Buyer agents never have a success checklist, usually. Very, very few, but it's very broad. And then ISAs, absolutely. They usually, when you hire an ISA, you're very clear. You must make 40 contact conversations. You must, set 1 appointment per day. So that's a little more in the guidelines. Now, I want to share with you the 30, 60, 90 on an assistant. You need one for your buyer agent. You need one for your ISA. If you're going to hire a listing agent, you need one for them. So on the next slide, which is number 5, would be the 30, 60, 90-day goals. And Stephanie, well, there you go. Okay, so in the first 30 days, it's really critical for all of us to understand, we want to put the fire hose down any person's throat. So when I talk about assistants, I'm talking about buyer agents, talking about absolutely the ISAs, listing managers, DOOs. You start very simply. So on this particular one, it's the database, it's answering the phone, it's processing a listing. It's nothing else. It's nothing else. It's nothing else. Now, we want them to do all of these things. So in the next 60 days, it's closing files, it's tracking numbers. 90 days, they've got all the marketing, all the listings, all the pendings, the database, everything. And so are they going to be 100% up and running? No, but they should be a good 80%. But if you start slow, it's kind of like the one thing at a time. The phone, they have to be trained on how to answer the phone. They have to be trained on how to handle a lead, a potential buyer, potential seller. And if you're not hired anyone yet and you just have your cell phone, as your main line, you need to get a digital line or whatever that's going to be your business line. It's time to step into business. When you hire anyone, you're no longer a realtor, you're now a business person. And again, I'm going to keep saying this, people are investments and they're an asset. Okay, on the next slide, I want to share something with you on this next slide. We've gotten away from a lot of teams of doing 411s with a team, okay? And so this isn't the greatest 411 for an executive assistant, but I think it's a good idea on what you should be looking for. Okay, so the annual goal is a team goal, 100 families served, 12 referrals, meaning they're going to bring in 1 personal referral every single month. That's amazing. I love that. And we never tap into our team. So it's amazing. And then plus that could be maybe asking the current client. So I was teaching a class at Family Reunion and I said, you want to double your business, you get a referral from every single client that you're currently working with right now. That automatically doubles your business. So in this particular one, I believe he wrote down 10 families served each month, meaning closings, I guess, and 1 referral. And he wanted to, pay off some debts and car loans, and then it was all scheduled there. You only write out week 1. And then when you accomplish that, then you write out week 2. And a lot of people do a mistake on a GPS. It's 1 week at a time. And yet when you're paying off, putting $25 in an IRA, that's a very specific measurable time. That's a measurable time. Now, let me share with you the buyer agent 30, 60, 90. So, too many times we hire a brand new buyer agent or an agent and we don't set up the expectations at the highest level. And so on this particular one, there's enough on here to, what I call choke a horse, right? But I want this buyer agent to know that this is a culture, and culture can be lead generation. It's a culture of how we drive business, how we go hunt and fish and find business. So can you imagine if you said to a brand new buyer agent, I will teach you how to hunt, fish, and I will teach you to make a lot of money. What you're going to do is that you are absolutely going to have 2 open houses per week. You are going to make sure that you submit 300 people to your sphere of influence, and you're going to call 30 people, 20 people a day. You're going to memorize the open house script. You're going to memorize the just sold script. You're going to do 1/2 hour of role playing every single day. You're going to record your buyer presentation on a Zoom call. You're going to record your call so that I can come back as your rainmaker and listen to that and critique you. You know, if you look at that list there, that is a success list. Now, a lot of buyer agents will go, oh man, I don't know if I can do all this. And they go, yes, you can. I did it. And anyone that was a top producer did very similar things. Trust me, that you will do things that you don't want to do when you have 3 kids and you're the single parent. You will do things that you don't want to do because you know that the outcome will be good. So this is one way, so you don't spend a lot of hassle hiring the wrong buyer agent. So for fun, put in the chat box, have you ever hired a buyer agent and they didn't work out? What was the one reason? They didn't do any production. So put it in the chat box. Why did your buyer agent not work out? Okay, this is a work ethic when you look at this list and you look at these things. And so, for example, you know, preview all the team listings immediately. You know, go out and preview properties around the open house. It's not looking at the internet. You know, it's getting out there, driving the neighborhoods, seeing what's going on in the neighborhoods. Okay, on the next one, this is a slide that I think is really critical for you to see. If you make a hiring mistake, it's usually 3 times their salary that it can cost you. Work ethic, exactly. And had you had that, Lisa, and Lartisa, you would then say, when you gave that to them, they're going to balk at it or they're going to embrace it like shiny eyes. This is what I have to do. Yes. I mean, what else are they going to do? Sit there and wait for the phone to ring or for you like a little birdie, feed me, feed me. No, I get them to work. And after 30 days, they are in production or they leave the team and they go work for somebody else and take them out of the business, but it's not going to be me, right? So when you look at this, you know, they blame it on lack of leads. Well, not if they're in 2 or 3 open houses a week, they're making 30 contacts a day, they're previewing properties and they're calling everyone in their database, and you teach them the just sold script and you teach them the open house script and they have to memorize it. They're going to do business. You can't do 8 open houses and not find something, because if they can't do that and find something, they really do need to go. You can't fix that. It's not fixable. All right. So if you look at this slide here, it's the KPA, it's the life story. Are you a victim or are you victorious? Is it the DISC test, the job description, the 30, 60, 90, the 411, the growth plan, onboard manual, compensation, days signed off, schedule, team goals, going through what the goals are, the MVVP, Y4C2TESs, the exit protocols. Yes, when you hire someone, you have to tell them, if there's a reason we part company, here's how it works. Any leads, buyer agent, are returned to me. ISA are returned to me. You know, you do not have access to those leads. If you have any pendings, you'll only be paid 50%, or you'll only be paid 25%, or we'll pay you the whole amount minus a transaction fee and you step back. All leads are returned. Team meets new potential candidate. Team and vendor introduction. So each vendor that you recommend and you want to use, they come and meet that person. You don't want them going off and finding their own vendors. So those 14 steps right there, they take time. But if you onboard them successfully like this, and you interview them successfully like this, and you have a phone interview before you haul them in and say, you know, hey, this was great talking to you. I've got a KPN, a DISC test. Can you get it back to me? It'll take you about 45 minutes to an hour by Friday at 12. 12:02, I don't have it back, or 12:01, they're out. I'm not even talking to them because I'm a time freak. So next slide, everyone. So on this particular slide, I want to share with you a couple of things on the training and support opportunities. So obviously, I've trained more assistants than anyone in the country, and probably since I've been a coach for over 27 years and real estate 44, I probably also coached more than anyone. It's hard to come up on my record of how many one-on-one calls I've had. And so I've really been exposed to some of the best agents, and still am. And so my systems are constantly changing. And so if you want a 450-page policy and procedures manual, this is for you to put those systems in place. Now, the first call is for you, for agents. So I'm telling you what's going to happen. Plus you're getting at least 30 to 40 pages. And I do a lot of leadership, how to be a great boss, how to communicate with your assistant. So that call is for you. The second and third call for this next is for your assistant. And then I teach you how to help them be accountable. And so the key for you right now is to think about all the mistakes you may have made in hiring and how you got to slow it down. Let's go to the next slide, Stephanie. So wrapping up this call, and I know I've gone a few minutes over and I appreciate, well, not quite yet, but I've got a couple minutes left. I really like being on time. So on the next slide.
That's the last slide, Monica.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. All right. So what I want you to kind of think about right now, and let me ask some of the questions. Is this okay to take with a new assistant hire? This is the perfect time. Yes, you take this class with the assistant and it starts, it's not on there, but it starts March 15th, Stephanie, right? It's not on there. It's March 15th. And Gary Keller has said, if you take any group training, you and your assistant must take this one. If your assistant's been with you for 10 years, I've had assistants balk, well, what am I going to learn? They love it because it's the big picture. If you just have a listing manager, you have a TC, this is perfect for them because it gives you the big, broad picture. Yes, I offer it throughout the year, but the next class is March 15th. And so if you don't have one yet, this class is for you too, because I've got 25 to 30% of the people in the class that are agents because you don't have the systems. And I go through a whole hiring process because a lot of assistants will now take over the hiring and then move into the step of a DOO. So if you don't have one, you want the systems, this is it. Like I said, it's everything from listings to pendings, to customer service, to communication, to job descriptions for every single job, 30, 60, 90s, everything is explained there. And most importantly, it's how to build a duplicatable and scalable business. This is the only class that MAPS offers, and that's been my passion for years. So let me recap a couple of things. You hire slow, okay, that's number one. And you take your time and you find out who these people are. I worked for Dave Ramsey for about 4 years and built some ELP programs for him if you're know who that is. And one of the things that I learned there is that before you hire someone, you make sure that they're not married or dating crazy. So he would always, in some key positions, but also the supervisors would take out that person. You go out for dinner and you meet because you're going to spend so much time. So if you're married, you take your spouse, you've got a boyfriend, girlfriend, you take them with you and you tell them to bring, hey, I'd like to take you to dinner and let's talk a little bit more about the business before we decide to work together, and bring your husband, bring your wife. And you want to make sure that they're not married to crazy, because crazy comes into the office, right? And the key thing is that when you hire and you make the right investment and you take the time, the mistakes are made, and you guys saw it all in the chat box. I moved too fast. I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't look at the references. I didn't drill down and dig deep. I didn't check their skills. It's all the same answers. And I'm a big culprit of hiring fast because I just want to get it over with. I just need someone to do something. And yet that do something caused a lot of trouble and headaches. Again, the wrong hire can cost you 3 times salary. The wrong hire can cost you and a buyer agent 25 to 50 transactions if you don't watch out. The ISA is just going to cost you money if they're not closing valid appointments. And so you want to take the time. You want to role play with an ISA. Say, let's role play. I'll give you the script. Why don't you practice it for a few minutes and let me see your skills. You want to role play. You want to check that assistant and say, are you willing sometimes to do a few extra things every now and then that may not be in your job description? If I have a buyer coming into town and my car needs to be washed, would you mind taking it and getting it washed for me while I do some lead generation? I mean, have those kind of conversations, set those expectations that are critical. So Stephanie, I know there were some chats in the chat box. Was there any questions that I didn't cover that I could real quickly? Is there any questions, Stephanie? I'm looking myself.
Yeah, this last one says, any good resources for hiring and training of ISAs?
Yes, of course. So there is an ISA program with Anna Kruger, Krueger. And I think if you just research it, that's with MAPS also. So if you go on the MAPS website, you will find, and you can research her name, Anna Kruger. She does training for ISAs. Absolutely. And I think that question also glues down that when you invest in your people and they get into training, then they understand that this is a business with a lot of opportunities. Your assistant should never feel that they are a cul-de-sac of a salaries, meaning that there's no benefit other than this is what I'm going to make per year, per hour. They have a database of people they know. If they're not licensed, I would get them licensed at some point. You should have all your assistants be licensed. I also am a firm believer, which is really critical, is that you pay them fairly a 25% referral fee from anyone in their sphere of influence. Now, their job is to find referrals from your current clients and reviews. And that's part of the job description, that every client has one review and one referral. I don't necessarily pay for that. However, I know agents who have done that, and I've done it personally too, that at closing, they get an extra $100 or something like that for, they get 25 for a review, they get $100 for a closing from a referral during a current client that they found, okay? Now, the key thing too is that if they're not licensed legally, you can pay anyone a bonus. I wouldn't pay them 25%. I dangle that carrot and say, you must get your license and then you make more. And I expect every single assistant, and Stephanie's a good person to know, I expected her to bring one referral from her friends, family, past coworkers, past associations every single month. My goal was for the assistants to make more money in referrals from their friends, family, past coworkers, church, workout, daycare, whatever, spouse, whoever. Be intentional, bring the business and make more money. You're not you're file pusher. You're not just answering the phone and leave at 5:01 or 4:59. This is an opportunity for you to also excel financially. And so here, when you hire correctly, there's nothing better in the entire world when you are in sync. When you hire incorrectly, like I said, it costs you money, time, frustration, and you go, why did I do this? I'm not good at this. You can be great at it. If you consider joining this class with agents and assistants, the agent call is the first week of every month. The second and third week is for assistants. There's 450 pages of absolute detailed systems. The key is this business is duplicatable and scalable, whether you're doing 20 deals or 200 or 2,000. I've had people like Jeff Glover's team in my training coming out to San Diego at the time when we did the 2-day, and everyone says these are all duplicatable. Whether you list $120,000 houses or you list $2 million houses or $20 million houses, you treat those clients the same. The assistants need to role play also. They need to know how to handle the phone, how to handle a client that's upset, how to handle a buyer and a seller when they call in their potentials when you're not there. They need to know how to do that. They are your biggest asset. They're your biggest investment in doubling your business. So anything else, Stephanie, on the questions? Does an assistant include the director of operations? Well, in most cases, most assistants are the director of operations. A lot of them, they're one assistant, they'll just say, got one assistant, she's a director of operations. Okay, they're the director of everything right now. They're the TC, they're the listing manager, so sure. So when you look at a director of operations, that director of operations knows how to sit in the seat of a listing manager. They know how to sit in the seat of a TC. They know how to handle problems. They know how to track the numbers. So everything in the perfect real estate assistant is for that director of operations. They've got to know the big, broad picture. Do most lead agents pay for all training conferences? Well, yes, but here's how I do it. Imagine that. I have a twist. So if I take my real estate assistant, I know exactly what class that they're going to, and I do pay for everything. I pay for the lodging, and I pay for a few of the meals when we go out together, and I pay for the travel there. Okay, now, after 1 year of them doing that, and I've made that investment, which can be, a couple $1,000s by the time you buy the ticket, and you buy the registration and all that, that if they leave within 1 year, that they've agreed to reimburse me half of it back. So I will pay for their licensing too. If I get 1 year use of that license, you don't have to pay me back. California is about $1,500. but I need 1 year of that license. You are taking an asset away from my team. I paid for it. Therefore, I need at least a year of use of it. Okay. If I'm taking you on an event, you will pay me back half of that if you leave within 1 year. You are now leaving with another training asset. The perfect real estate assistant, that would be up to you, whether you want to do that or not. It's $199 a month. I would look at it differently like this. I would be all over that assistant as soon as that call's over on Wednesday. And I say, okay, what'd you learn? What's the one thing you're going to put into place? Because I will give them probably 10 different assignments that they could do, and they're to choose 2 or 3. Get one out of every single class. And you will never be hostage to assistant if you have this assistant build this policy and procedures manual. This is the beginning of you stabilizing your business, duplicatable and scalable. Anything else, Stephanie? So this
I
class.
didn't see anything you didn't cover.
Okay, good. So this class starts March 15th. And again, like I said, and I started the call, thank you, Stephanie, for hanging in there with me. She's been with me for 13 years. She wasn't my first choice, but I made a big mistake, circled back as fast as I could and said, excuse me, I made a mistake. Would you like to come talk to me again about the job? I had to eat crow on that one. So be careful. Take a look at those 14 steps. They're all there for you. So you'll get a copy of this recording if you got the link and you go to YouTube, and you can see all the slides again. And hopefully some of you were taking picture. Hiring too fast, Ray Wayne says, oh, there's my buddy Ray Wayne. Yeah, we just want to hit the easy button. So remember, there's 14 steps. And if you look at those very methodically, you won't make a mistake. You won't make a mistake. All right. I think that's it. I want to keep you guys on time. This is recorded. Yes, you're going to have a link. It's in the chat box. The link's in there. It's on YouTube. It'll be posted tomorrow. Hey, everybody. There it is. There's the link right there. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I'm passionate about training agents and assistants to duplicate and scale their business. I did it on a very high level, and I know you can too. So thanks, everyone. Have a great week, and I hope to see you on the calls. Bye-bye.